Hey everybody. So quick video this week just to make an update on the different ChatGPT model families because GPT-5 changed a bit how we think about ChatGPT models. Previously you had the thinking family, you had the speed family. Now it's all GPT-5 but with different modes. So these modes, if you want to take the best advantage of your ChatGPT subscription, you need to understand what they're best used for. But the good news with GPT-5 is that even if you don't want to think about which mode you're actually going to select and use, you can just leave it on the default. So if I go to the top here and I click, I select auto, this will for me decide the best mode of GPT-5 to use. So let's do an example. Let's imagine I'm asking what is the capital of Canada. This is not a model that has to think for a while because the answer is not changing or doesn't change often enough to force the model to think for a long time about it. So here it defaults to using this instant model here. But because we had selected auto, it did the selection for us. But what if instead we ask something a little bit deeper? Imagine you want to calculate if you are ready for retirement or how much money you want to save. So for this, you would select the thinking mode. And in here, what you will want to ask is something much more detailed. So you could say something like, write a Python tool for me to calculate how much I need to put away for retirement based on which country I live in. Here, there's a reason why you put this in thinking mode. And the thinking essentially should force the model to think about all of the different facets of your problem. For example, if you live in Canada, there's likely a better chance that you need more money than if you live in Nigeria for retirement. Or you would need even more money in the US. There's also some countries, for example, which have retirement planning done by the government, and some other countries have none of that whatsoever. So if you want to create such a tool, GPT-5 needs to think more about it. The biggest reason being that there's no single specific answer. So it needs to kind of take it like a Rubik's Cube, right? It needs to turn the problem on its head, try to think different ways of going about it. So this is why the thinking tool will be super helpful. And let's try to see if it's able to finalize here. But one of the things to note is that you see the skip button. I am not going to click it now, but the skip button, if you use it, will default back to instant. This way you would get more the classic ChatGPT answer, which doesn't rely on tooling, doesn't rely on web searches or thinking, just blurps out directly an answer. All right. So now you see ChatGPT has done a lot of thinking for at least over 30 seconds, forcing me to continue speaking on this video. But the good news is that it's building something much more robust, much more better. But this gives me a bit of time to talk about the next mode, which is available only for the top pricing tier of ChatGPT. So while this works, let's go to see the ChatGPT tiers. So if we think about the different tiers, let's go for ChatGPT pricing. Okay, here we go. So the free one is what most people will use. This will be good for quick answers. We'll revert to using instant or thinking mode just a little bit. But if you need more capacities, you will pay plus. But if you want to do really beefy stuff, if you want to really have GPT think about coding problems long and hard, to really simulate them into its own environment, you will go to the GPT Pro tier. And this is this tier here. When I click at the top and I see the Pro tier, this tier is the one where ChatGPT will go off for a few minutes. It could be 2 minutes, could be 10, 15, 20 minutes, but it will come back to you with an actually usable project. So let's give an example. Actually, I have an example which I use in the past few days. So, okay. So here, this is an example. I was asking ChatGPT to work on something which is not super documented. What I was asking it is, are you able to create this Solana framework in TypeScript. This is something where I'm just trying to test the model. There's not actually a lot of value to it, but I wanted to see, take this hard concept like Solana Pinocchio, which is a really hard framework to work in Rust, but is really powerful, yet it requires a lot of knowledge. And I was trying to understand, is it possible to create like a TypeScript package on top of it? So here, if I go over to the amount of thinking that has been done for Pro, it taught for over 6 minutes and 42 minutes, thinking about the problem, really diving into if the architecture makes sense, looking at the docs. So this is essentially for you the GPT Pro version. If you want access to this one, you will have to pay the $200 per month, $200 USD per month fee. So there you go. I hope this was a bit helpful to try and understand the different OpenAI ChatGPT 5 mode. So auto will choose for you. Instant will get you a quick answer. Thinking will take more time to write, will think about the problem. And Pro is throwing everything at it. Think for 5, 10, 15 minutes, along with simulation of the code and trying to execute the code on remote servers. So there you have it. Let me know if you want the videos diving deeper, for example, in the Pro mode, how you can best use it. And please leave a comment if you want to see something different on the channel. Have a good day, everybody.